calling. And today, when she reads from her books and we introduce her as an independent published writer, I feel very, very privileged because when I read her books, somewhere I was able to connect to each and every word because her style of writing is so seamless. It's the way she talks, it's the way she is. So every word in her book reflects the person that she is, and I'm really, really proud of her. So, Mahima ma'am, welcome, congratulations, and thank you for this opportunity for us to be able to get together to celebrate the person and the author, Mahi. So, I would like to request you now to read a bit from your book, whatever you like, so that we all can enjoy it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Over to you, ma'am.
Like that. I'm so glad and honored. Uh, I won't say I have achieved anything that great that you can start calling me a popular name or something. But yes, I've tried a little, and I know this is quite an average thing to start with, but we had to start from somewhere. I wanted to start this, so I just did what I felt like, and I have stepped forward, and I want to really grow because everything I think comes through practicing. So as much as I will write, I think I'll grow as an author also. I want to grow, and it will be possible with the love of all my supporters. I see so many of my students here. I'm so glad. Thank you so much, children. It's your chance to criticize me, so you can do that. And I am wholeheartedly looking forward to some feedback from you all. I'm not going to read too much. I'm going to read an excerpt, which I feel is quite important. Let me first read, then I'll explain what is so important in that. I'll just, this is the third story that I'm reading, an excerpt from that. It's named Serendipity. That day, when she came across those pictures and some letters while cleaning his cupboard, she suddenly did not know how to react. She had never thought that she would have to deal with a situation like this in her life. Her son was in love with his best friend Anand. It was very difficult for her, and she could not fathom what and how she was feeling. Her son was
Mahima ma'am,
homosexual.
sorry to interrupt. Is it audible for everyone?
The voice quality is a little soft. Mahima ma'am, can you
Yeah,
hold
a
the
bit low.
microphone to your close a bit closer?
Yeah.
To move with
That day, can
Yeah.
you hear me now?
I
Much
think if
better.
you can go mute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That day, when she came across those pictures and some letters while cleaning his cupboard, she suddenly did not know how to react. She had never thought that she would have to deal with a situation like this in her life. Her son was in love with his best friend Anand. It was very difficult for her, and she could not fathom what and how she was feeling. Her son was homosexual. She did not know what to think of it. Did she approve of it? Did she want him to change his mind or his sexual orientation? Did she have a choice? Was it right to interfere with something nature had decided for him? She just picked up the letters and kept it in the box and folded the clothes neatly. She decided to go to Delhi, as going to Lucknow to her parents would only make her more uncomfortable. In Delhi, she had met the love of her life, and this was the place where she had found her feet. She wanted to sit quietly and clear her head of all the confused thoughts that were invading her peace of mind. She sent a message to she sent a message to Shlok on WhatsApp that she was going to Delhi for a short official tour and would be back in 2 days. She sent an email to her boss asking for a 2 days leave. Once she was in Delhi, she felt strangely at home, and all her romantic memories with Abhimanyu became fresh. She went to the amphitheater in the Ansar Plaza Mall and sat down on the steps. Memories of her college days, when she used to spend most of her evenings there with Abhimanyu, came flooding back, warming the cockles of her heart. She lit a cigarette and remembered how he used to dislike her habit of smoking, but somehow she never felt convinced enough to quit. She looked around and almost saw Abhimanyu in every corner. He was smiling at her, and she suddenly felt peaceful. She remembered how her own father had always supported her in her decisions, whether it was her decision of marrying Abhimanyu, whether it was a decision of continuing to stay in Mumbai even after Abhimanyu's death. He had always been there to support her. She felt that it was her responsibility to make her son feel accepted, wholly, not on conditions. She even realized that the person whom he had chosen was not a frivolous one, who would just be around him as long as his needs were fulfilled. They had been friends from childhood, and she had always felt a warmth for him, like he was his own son. She knew she could count on him. She sat there and thought about all aspects of this association and felt that it would definitely not be easy, but following the easy path was not the tradition in her family. She smiled at the thought. I'll stop there. Uh, why I read that part was partly because, you know, talking about homosexuality, talking about women smoking, talking about women raising children without any support. These are simple things which our society is still struggling to accept. So, this was something that I wanted to put forward in my own way, in a very simple way. These are things that everybody is doing. People are doing all this, people are living their lives in the way my stories depict. And still, it's not very acceptable in our society. So I just try to, want people to be a little more accepting of things. And this is how I am. I want to, every author just tries to bring forth their own thoughts through their books. So this is my little effort. Anything that you want to say about it? I'm all ears now.
First, we'll just clap for the reading. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is an open forum. If you have any thoughts about what she's read and what she's shared, let's be free to speak up.
I really wanted to ask Mahima ma'am, because I've known, as I said, I've known Mahi for a very, very long time. And
Malvika ma'am, please. Let's not call me ma'am right now because we are friends. And just call me Mahi. I would love that. I want to get into that field.
okay,
And you
Mahi.
would.
I actually wanted to ask Mahi that I know you come from a very conservative background. I know that UP is not the easiest place for girls to grow up in and to, kind of find their own personalities. And knowing you and knowing Auntie Uncle, I know how much you've kind of, fought to be who you are. So I really want to know what helped you or what brought about such a radical thought process where instead of towing the line and becoming the traditional uh, mahila ghar ki grihani, how did you break those shackles and how were you able to kind of grow into a person who is so easy to approach and who understands the other's point of view, even though it may not be your own? I mean, I know for certain that there are things that you don't agree with, but you listen and you accept. So how did that happen? How did you come to that point?
Okay, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you feel like that. And I think it all, the credit goes to my father. Even though when I was born, my family was quite orthodox. My father was the only one who really encouraged us to break free and not feel, shackled and not feel that, there's a certain way that we are supposed to behave or a certain kind of thought process that we have to mold ourselves into. We were given all kinds of freedom. And my father said, my father always believes, that to make a person trustworthy is to trust him. So to generate that kind of trust in us, or to generate that kind of integrity in us, he always trusted us. I think that is one big point that we as parents should also, uh, you know, give to our children. That if you trust them, they will definitely never go wrong. They will come to you if there's something. It's not that nobody ever goes wrong. You do go wrong. That's how you learn. But if your parents or your elders have that kind of trust in you, you will always, feel freer. You'll want to go to them and talk things out, and not rather hide things and do the wrong things or whatever. So I think that particular aspect has come from my father. He's been very, very open with us. Generally fathers don't talk about certain topics and all that, but my father has been very open. I think that is one reason why we are also, all of us, all my sisters and my brother, we are very different, not like the typical UPI or whatever.
That is why I was asking. Great. Thank you. Anyone else would like to ask Mahima ma'am or Mahi? Sorry. I'm so used to calling you Mahima ma'am. I see a lot of people who know you. I see a lot of people who have no clue about who you are. So if any one of you has anything to ask, please.
Is there something in the chat that they've written?
Yeah.
Can see something.
Binzi ma'am, would you like to start the question answer session?
Sure. I think it was just Vishal sharing that, initially he was not able to hear ma'am properly. I hope you didn't miss much because it was an interesting story. I think Mahima ma'am just read out a portion from her last chapter, which is Serendipity. And it was very beautifully presented of a single mother accepting her son's homosexual relation or an alternative sexual relation. And when I have talked to my queer friends and also part of my research, I often things that they raised is that they're not so much concerned about always the legality of the act, but they are more concerned about being accepted by their family. So that is one of the major obstacles or one of the challenges they face. So, and you explore a similar relationship in your story. Why do you think this is so? Like, why is how that acceptance from the family becomes versus the legality part, or does it go together? Or post legality again, I won't say it's legal. I would rather say it's decriminalized. But even after that, how family still comes out to be so important, and why have you explored that part?
Okay. I feel that, whether it's a queer person, as you have termed, or, a normal human being, like we term them as normal, and whether it's a person with a disability, everybody on this earth wants just one thing, and that is to be accepted. Even the so-called normal people, when they are young, when we are growing up, we all go through phases where and then there are some people who go through those phases even in their older ages, where they just feel like being accepted. That is a very important part, and that's a very natural thing. So whether it's because of homosexuality, whether it's because of having a different physical feature, or it's having a different kind of a thought process, people want to be accepted the way they are. So that is always important, whether it is a queer person, whether it's a normal person, whether it's anybody. So once you are accepted by your own people, you have that backing, and then any legal battle is a piece of cake. I think that is your strength. If your people accept you, if your friends accept you, if your family accepts you, you have won half the battle, and then you're armed to face the legal challenges later on. And our society is definitely going to make things difficult for anybody who is on the back foot. So we need to be armed with our people first. And that is why I think, generally people want to first be accepted and then they worry about anything else.
Binsi ma'am, there is a question in the chat from Tarushi.
Yeah, Tarushi, you can ask.
Yes, Tarushi, can you please ask your question, please?
Yeah, sure. So, Namaste, ma'am. And I would like to ask which book or author inspired you the most, like motivated you and made you think that, yes, I would love to put down my thoughts and my imagination into pages that would love to share with everyone?
See, I grew up on a lot of romantic genre. I read the romantic genre the most, and I have been a very romantic person in my life. So basically, Victoria Hall, Philippa Carr, or Jean Plaidy, whoever you name her as, she's just one person. I've read most of the books from Victoria Hall.
I thought you would say Mills and Boons. I mean, that was the trend in our times.
Yes, I've read a lot of Mills and Boons as well. But Mills and Boons, I feel, is a cliched kind of a storyline where there's just one story. But when you read Victoria Hall, when you read Philippa Carr, you see a lot of different kinds of characters. You see a lot of beauty in the characters. You see a lot of relatable people in the stories. And that is one thing I really admired because we were I am from a small town, so we didn't get to meet a lot of people apart from the family that we belonged to and apart from the relatives that came to our house. So, generally, what I know about people is through books. And what I have read more is romance. So, that is one thing that I'm really comfortable with. And that is what I wanted to portray on the. And as a person also, as a human being also, I feel that, I'm really inclined towards observing human behavior and human relationships. So I really want to explore that particular forte, and that's why I chose to write the romantic genre. I even love works from Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond and Ayn Rand. I read. I think Fountainhead is one of the most impressionable kind of a book for me. I was really, I had a crush. I was really in love with Howard Rock for quite some time after reading the book. And in fact, I read the book several times to read about how Howard Rock behaved and how different he was and how Mako. So, a lot of characters also really make me fall in love. If you read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bront, you would know the character of Heathcliff. Very dark character, but I had a crush on him also. So lots of people have inspired me to write, and lots of basically romantic authors, all of them.
So, Mahima ma'am, coming to your explanation when you said that a lot of books that you read had very relatable characters, I agree with that. More connected to your book, because when I was reading the stories, when I was reading, there are a lot of characters that I recognized as people I know. So how much of that, how much of your characters were fictitious, and how much have you kind of picked up from experiences or your own imagination? I mean, because for certain, yes, as I said, there are some,
Definitely.
Which I could relate to very well. So,
yeah, I know, and I wanted that to come up because lots of people were saying that, oh, so this happened because because the character somewhere sounds like me, so somebody's telling me, oh, so this also happened or that also happened. I just want to clarify that characters obviously you will have to take from your own surroundings. You can't, I mean, I can't write about a one-eyed person. I'll have to write about people who are around me. So definitely the characters, because I'm very observant, I do take characters from my real life. And but not everything that happens in their lives is the same. So please don't take, even if I've called it memoirs, it's not my own story or something. It's like how, different perspectives of people that I've met in my life or myself also. Suppose, so many times a particular incident happens and you start thinking how this could have happened in another way, or how this could have been a better thing, or how it could have been more dramatic. So those are the cues where your stories start building up, and that's how my story is also built up. So even though I've called it memoirs, it's not my own story. Even the next book that I've written, Blue God, is full of characters that you can relate with, and I'm sure even the ones who have not met such characters will be able to relate with, because they're very lifelike characters, because they are inspired from life.
Have you again, I'm very curious because I know I can recognize some characters or situations that I have seen because I also belong to Uttar Pradesh and I can basically relate to the situations. Have you at any point changed the ending or the story the way you thought it should have been and it wasn't in real life?
Yes, yes, I must have done that. I don't remember very specifically what you're referring to, but yes, I must have done that. That's how a story builds up. Different, if you see your own life, anybody's life, there are different aspects, there are different incidents in your life. If you see it from a different person's point of view, it becomes a different story. You see it from your own point of view, it's a different story. You see it from the person you are with, if you start seeing it from their point of view, it is a different story. And if you see it from the point of view of an onlooker, it will be a totally different story. So it can all be the same thing seen in different ways. So maybe in the future you will hear of some of these characters in different situations, because these are the characters that I have around me. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm hoping you'll write something on us also, on me also. Right.
Definitely. Definitely, that poem that you wrote a few days ago has really inspired me, and I was thinking about writing about single women being really hounded for certain things. So I was thinking about that. Let's see, maybe we come up with something. But then that doesn't mean that it relates to you, or I have taken something from your life. I will definitely try to come up with something, my own perspective of the whole thing.
Certainly look forward to it. I had my Malvika ma'am. Can I ask something more? I had yeah. So I read your book, and all of those of us who are new here, it's there on Amazon Kindle. So do check it out. Uh, in most of the literary endeavors, this is from your first chapter. So mirror is seen as a reflection and illumination of light, right? So as though when you stand in front of the mirror always tells you the truth. So there is this protagonist of yours, for those of us who haven't read the story, who stands in front of the mirror, and then she gets a flashback of her whole life, and then she takes a very big decision before her marriage. She decides not to get married. So for whatever reasons, but then I'm looking at the literary device of mirror, which tells you nothing but the truth. That's how it has mostly been used in stories. So, but often mirrors has been associated with women standing in front of the mirror, then going into a process of reflection, and then coming with a realization and making big decisions in life. Why is that so? Why did you use that connection? Also, what metaphor or device of illumination would one use for men? Because when do men get truth reflected on? I don't know if you. What would you do as a literary person? I was just thinking.
Correct. So that's, Vinci ma'am, I need to say something before I answer this question. The way you make my whole thing sound is so intellectual, and I feel so proud that I've written something like this, which can sound so, deep. Okay, so let me just answer that. Yes, mirror is a literary device to bring out a person's conscience, the inner self, and it has been used quite often. more often with women because in our culture, in our Indian culture, I think women and mirror is quite a great association because they are supposed to do that sola singar and all that, and they have to look at themselves in the mirror to do that. So it's quite a cliched thing, but definitely works well with our society. And for men, if you say, I think the mirror would work for men also. I have seen so many men who really look at the mirror or do self analysis or do a lot of talking to themselves through. Looking at themselves in the mirror. So mirror can be used for men also, and I would definitely make it a point to use it for men in one of my stories. That's a good point because otherwise it sounds very cliched. So the other ways of which you can explore the conscience part um, or the way the characters are talking to themselves is maybe through soliloquies or maybe through, you know, so many other things. You know, you can talk to your alter ego, you can just give a loud thinking kind of a piece where the character is just thinking aloud. That could be also used.
Yeah, yeah. That's an area I think only men can tell us about it. Maybe I have a thought.
So the men here who have
Hello.
joined, can
Can
you?
you? Yeah, Binsi, can you hear me?
Yes, Vishal, we can hear you.
Yeah. So you on your point of the metaphor of mirror. So there is no gender bias at all. All men do. I mean, I don't really know about cisgender heterosexual men, but homosexual men definitely look in the mirror and reflect upon. That I can tell you from my experience. Okay, and Mahima, wonderful piece that you have read, and your process and all that you've
Thanks.
read and everything. It's really very interesting, and I'm eager to grab a copy of the book and read all the stories that you have put together. And
Thank you.
and also, as you rightly said, that the way Binsi interpreted some of those pieces and told us a little bit about the other stories that she has read is really wonderful, and I'm really eager to kind of read those stories. Um,
Thanks.
One thing, I mean, the piece that you have read, I just would like to add little bit if I may. Um, so the thing is, I mean, there is lot to relate to, as you rightly said that. Uh, I mean, people who do not really belong to majority, like they do not really, not necessarily follow the norms, the so-called norms, and most of them, the main agenda in their lives is to fight for acceptance, which is supposed to be a
Correct.
basic human right that one should have. But then unfortunately, it is just that, I mean, that is and for some people, that is the only agenda in their lives. I am from a small town. I am from a city called Aurangabad, which is a tier 2 city in Maharashtra. And growing up in Aurangabad, where people do not really talk about homosexuality. I mean, while growing up, I didn't even know the terms LGBT and all of that. And so you always feel that you're different, you're wrong, and you do not really you can never be a part of uh, the society, and you will never be
Correct.
accepted. And that is really suffocating, for a young adult, and even like when you grow up and you're, but still you don't know whom to talk, and you always feel that you're the only one who are kind of suffering through all this, and you have to actually find your own ways, and that is one thing that I could totally relate to. Although, I mean, there was a brief mention. I'm sure that there must be more to that in the story. But
The whole story is based on
I
that.
totally agree with the thought. Yeah. The story is based on that, and that's the reason I'm looking forward to grab a copy. And but the thought that you have mentioned, that uh, how single women, how women or even men who choose to stay single, not because they are not heterosexual, but for their own reasons, and they are not really answerable to the society why they want to take certain decision. So all of them really, considered as queer or different in that sense.
Correct.
So that is something I can totally relate to. And then yeah, I mean, even for me, like when I came out to my parents like 5 years ago, I'm 35 years now, and I came out when I was 29, and it took me that much of time to kind of even tell to my own parents that who I am, and so man, I can totally understand those struggles, and I am so happy that you so wonderfully explored those kind of aspects of human lives. And it would be really great to kind of read the other stories and even this particular story. So really
Thank
looking
you,
forward to
Vishal.
it. Please,
Thank you so much.
yeah, please mention. Yeah, please mention in
Thank
the
you.
chat that where we can buy the book. Thank you so much. And
Okay.
it is
Thank
really
you.
wonderful session on like Saturday evening. I have my cup of tea with me, and Vinci knows that how much I love
Thanks to
tea. So it is really wonderful session today. Thank you so much for
thank,
inviting me.
thanks to Binsi ma'am, and thank you to Malvika ma'am. And Vishal, I must congratulate you for the courage you have shown. And this is the kind of acceptance, this is the kind of courage that I want people to show. And this is the kind of relatability that I want from my stories or from my books. This is what I want, that people should be able to relate. It's something very natural, it's something very personal. Nobody has the authority to judge. Nobody has the authority to pass any kind of judgment or be any, any other way than being accepting of it. So kudos to you. Good that you, got the courage. I hope many more people who want to come out and openly accept things are courageous enough and, can do that the way you have done it. Very good. Thank you. And definitely, my book is available on Kindle. Both of them. The other book the other book is named Blue God and Other Stories. But I feel that some of the people are thinking that Blue God means it's quite a religious kind of a story, but no, it's all my stories are based on love as of now. I am going to write on other aspects also, but these two books that I've brought out as of now are both based on love stories and different aspects of relationships. So the story Blue God is also a very beautiful description of the relationship between Shiva and Parvati, and also a small aspect of extramarital attraction. So don't just feel that you don't want to explore something related to God, or maybe it's going to talk about Hinduism or religion. No, it's away from all that. It's all about humans, it's all about relationships. So do grab that
Sounds
book.
good.
Yeah, do grab
Yes,
that.
yes, definitely. And I'm sure that we will also get to read something which is like quintessential queer love story, or that
Yeah,
queer
yeah.
romanticism, something like that soon.
Sure, sure. The more confident I get, right now I am an English teacher in a school. So what's happening is that I'm reading a lot of wrong English also. So I'm not getting my confidence. I'm not getting very. I'll have to just practice. So I will definitely come up with braver topics for sure.
Thank you.
Right.
So
I'm
much,
also
Vishnu.
trying to share.
Really wonderful. And as you said, there are parts of the story that you related to, and that is exactly what I was talking about also when I was talking about Mahi's stories, because I am a single adult by choice. and my marital status is that of a widow, which is not acceptable in our Brahmin society. And I had, as you said, you must be knowing the kind of pressures the society can put on you. And I'm so glad that you stood up for yourself. A big hug to you. And yes, Mahi, we expect much, much more on these subjects, which are so-called taboo in so far. So humanize them a little more for us.
Thank you so much. I will try my best.
Yes, Vinci ma'am.
Right.
Vinci, you're mute.
Yeah, we have quite a lot of friends joining in now. But the reading is over, but that's okay. I'm sure you know Mahima, so that's absolutely fine. You'll still enjoy listening to her. So yeah, talking about relatability, a lot of your stories, Mahima, are about young college-going women. I think this is coming from your memory as a college student. You seem to really miss them. College-going women. How does she survive in in the public space? Right. So I read about things like, using the elbow to get into the bus. I don't know. We all have our own tactics of survival when we're traveling through public bus or metro. So for me, consciously, it would be like, okay, the moment I get onto the metro platform, I have to move to the ladies section, and it's like I work like a robo like that because I already have my strategies in place. If I'm going in a bus, I know where to hold my bag because I know that there are pickpocketers, and how to get a seat. Where can I stand such that there won't be much intrusion or body space will not be invaded into. So what are the? So I think elbow is one thing we. I don't know if other girls can relate to this. Is one thing we use to get into the bus and get space and not get our body space taken over. So what are the other things that you have in as tips you can give to young people, young girls when who are in city and have to travel? What are the other tips that you usually used for yourself? I mean, that's general.
I don't know what tips to give because these are things you learn through experiences. The elbow thing I learned through an experience. So I think people will find their own way. We have smart people now, and we have understood, that we have to stand for ourselves. Nobody is going to come and shoulder us, or nobody is going to come and give us a hand, and we don't need to rely on people to come and save us from a situation. So the more you are into a situation, the more tactics you learn yourself. There is no need to get any tips from anyone. For example, just now you said you stand in a queue for the women when it comes to hopping onto a metro. I never do that. I always go into the general compartment because I just want to see, how much can happen and how to. I I I am a very introvert kind of a person, you know me, but I never do that because I want to subject myself to situations like this and see, and I just want to test myself also how I will be able to tackle a different kind of a situation. So the more you put yourself into it, you'll know how to come out of it also. So just be strong and know that nobody has got the right to manhandle you. Nobody has got the right to take you for granted. Nobody has got the right to take your private space.
Right.
I have never got down and slapped anyone. I have never got down and thrashed up anyone. But to tell you the truth, I have not even got into a lot of this kind of manhandling also. The reason is the way you look at people. The reason is the way you just give that stare from the very beginning that, I know you and don't you dare try anything. I think that is the best thing. Your facial expression should say a lot
Can you
before they even think of.
Can you share that scare?
I always have that, Kharoos expression on my face, which really helps me.
Right. Thank you, Mahima ma'am, for sharing that. I think that's all from my side. I have so many other questions and thoughts because I could relate to it because I've gone through. Probably we are both women and coming from the same urban setup of young where we just started going to college. Probably our previous generations hadn't. So we had to learn all these tactics because it's like jumping into the fire and knowing, acha, aisa bhi hota hai, ye bhi karna hota hai. And you learn on your own. That's how it goes. So thanks a lot for sharing, all of you. I mean, Vishal, everybody, Tarushi and all the students, everybody who's here. Thanks a lot for sharing your experiences. Before I give it over to Malvika ma'am, I'll also share that this is just, like I said, started with initiative to celebrate the artists in each other. So if you have some work you want to share, and if you want to gather a fellowship, another fellowship over an evening of coffee or anywhere, you can always reach out and we'll join in and have a literary gathering. That's all, or a musical gathering, whichever way. So over to you,
Yeah.
Malvika.
So I think that was anyone else who I see a lot of young people here, people who know Mahi, who've been her students or still are. Any one of you would like to say something before we wind up?
I saw something from Ayusha Virmani somewhere. Is that
Namaste. Yes,
Ayush,
ma'am.
would you like to ask something, Bija?
Yes, ma'am. I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Bija.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I've come across a whole lot of rules related to writing, like write what you know and show, don't tell, and several other ways that you should always start a novel with. So I wanted to ask you that what do you think of these rules? Do you think it is a good idea to break these rules, or should we always stick to them? And what do you think of them?
I wouldn't say you should deliberately go forward and start breaking all rules, but definitely follow your heart. If you think that this particular style that has been told to you to follow, when you're writing your own work, Rucha, I'm talking about when you're writing your own work. When you're writing an essay in school, that's a different thing. If they give you a starting line, you have to write with that starting line. But when you're writing your own work, don't follow any rules. Just follow your heart. I think that's what I do, and that's what I always encourage. And I think that really works well because when you speak from your heart, it does make an effect.
Thank you, ma'am.
The dilemma of a teacher and an author. Anyone else? There's nothing in the chat box right now. I think.
Yeah, I'd like to say something before you people wind up.
Yes, Prasna, we would love to hear you.
Hi, congratulations, Mahima.
Thank you.
And I just want to say that I think the release of these books, it has made some change. It has brought about some change in you as a person as well.
Thank you. Is that positive?
No, I want to know it from you. Has it brought about any change in you as a person?
Okay. So not yet.
Obviously, see, we become people with experiences. So is this experience going to change you in any way?
It hasn't made much of a difference yet because the kind of response or the kind of response which actually changes people has not come yet. But even when it comes, I don't think there's much to change. The only thing that can change is that my confidence maybe will be a little better, which is not very good right now. Otherwise, I think I don't want to change. I'm good enough the way
Actually,
I am.
you shouldn't. You don't need to change. You're quite good. So be like that. All the best to you for your future. And thank you for these beautiful stories that you've given us to read and have some good time.
Thank you so much. I'll make sure that there are less mistakes next time. I'm planning to hire you as my editor.
Yeah, sure. Sure, I'm always there.
Thank you.
I want to ask.
She's a teacher herself, and she hates any kind of grammatical or typo errors, which she has really found out in my books. And I'm going to make sure that it goes through her first.
It was not intentional. Please.
Definitely.
It just happened that I saw them and I marked them.
It happens because we are all teachers. It happens. And it's good. I need somebody
Not
like that. No?
always, not even with children. It's not always good with children also. So I think I should change this a little. But the stories were beautiful.
We
Thank
you so
all
much.
grammar Nazis. I think Mahi and I keep correcting each other quite often also. So, but
We were born to be teachers.
That's the beauty. That's how.
You know, I want to share a small thing. Just now, Pratna said what change you want to see. I want to share something very small. It's a big dream, but a small part. Sudha Murthy is a very good Indian author, and she also won the award of being the best teacher. So maybe that is also one of my goals, and I see myself as being a better teacher also later on, with a little bit of increase in my personality, like you said. So
definitely,
I want to see a twofold increase, growth. Yes, thank you.
Asmira, do you have a question? Could you ask, please?
I want to ask a question.
Yes.
Yes, Divyansh. Looking forward to your question.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ma'am, my question is that, ma'am, what was the thought for you to give the title Memoirs for your book?
It's one of the stories in the book, which is called Memoirs. So I thought I'll name the whole collection by that name. If you've read some Ruskin Bond stories, you must have heard. If you've read Sudha Murthy's book, How I Taught My Grandmother to Read, so that's just one of the first stories. There are other stories also. So that was the trend I was following, just naming the book on one of the stories. Does that answer?
Thank you so much. There is a question from Jasmeera.
Yes, ma'am.
She wants to know, what was the most difficult part about writing and publishing the book?
Just like Pratna pointed out a few minutes ago, the most difficult part comes when you have to edit your work. You know, when you're writing, you write from your heart and it comes out very naturally, and you think you've written the best thing that you wanted to write. But when it comes to editing, you know, you're so overwhelmed with what you've written, you can't see your own mistakes. And that is one thing which you should really cater to, and you should be mindful of before publishing anything, because that is one thing everybody should be very careful of, because you know, books are supposed to be correct. They suppose when we say something, we say kahan likha hai, kaun si kitab mein likha hai. That's because whatever is written in a book is supposed to be correct. So it should be at least grammatically perfect. So that is one difficulty I came across. Anything else? Is that sufficient for your answer, or should I say something more?
I think that should have answered the query. Anyone else wants to ask anything? I don't see anything in the chat right now. So I think we can
almost 6 o'clock.
So I think we can wind up now. Thank you so much, Binsi ma'am, for taking the initiative of getting us all together to celebrate my friend and author Mahi, whom I'm very, very proud of.
Thank you.
And may we get together again over a cup of coffee for some music or for poetry or for something. I mean, I would love this. I think this is one of the best evenings I've spent during the lockdown. So I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you so much, Mahi ma'am, for taking out the time to speak to us.
Please.
Thank you.
Please don't forget to invite me, Malvika ma'am.
Definitely, Pratna, you're there. You're there. Always.
Thank you.
No.
And thank you so much, Binsi ma'am. I think congratulations to you for taking up something like this. Because what's happening is that whoever has the majority is getting all the accolades. People who are beginners, people who want to make a mark, they need the kind of support that you are extending. And I'm so proud to be associated with you. And so glad that you gave me a chance. Thank you so much.
It's because I enjoyed your work. It always comes, these things come from within. So it's very natural, you know, when you really
Thank you so
enjoy
much.
these things, it's effortless. So I also enjoyed this session because apart from the usual formal sessions we have, I could just be myself on in a t-shirt with a pillow and, you know, just listen to and chat with each other. So I enjoyed this too. And it's basically, it comes both ways. It's never one way. So
On the
Thank you.
contrary,
Yes.
Binti, I made an effort to dress up after a very, very long
I want to
time.
know where you got those
I
earrings from.
wanted to celebrate the evening.
You're looking gorgeous. And you're looking
That's
gorgeous.
not the point. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for taking out this time and being here together. Looking forward to some more evenings like this. Till then, as we say, namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, ma'am. Namaste,
Namaste.
everyone.
Namaste,
Okay.
everyone.
So I'll officially end the meeting, friends. We have some ideas on slam poetry for next time. We sure can work around it. It'll be great. Thank you, Vishal. Thank you for being yourself and bringing yourself honestly into this in our gathering. I just loved. I enjoyed it, and that's what we are here to be ourselves, right?
And that's an honor for us. So to be able to, you know, if you have that trust in us and if you have that faith in us that you can be yourself, that's a really, really, I mean, I am overwhelmed with that. And thank you for doing it. Really appreciate that.
Great. We'll take that idea forward on slam poetry. You'll have to let me know how to do this because I'm also new to slam. I know poetry, but I've not got into the slam poetry level. By the time I graduated, these things started after that. So we'll surely take it up, and I think there are some people who are interested. So on that note, shall I end the meeting officially, Malvika ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Friends.
Take care,
Thank you for such a
everyone.
beautiful
Safe.
time.
Bye-bye.